1, 2, 1, 2. I think I see it. We're working. Alright, here we go. Hey guys, logging in Chuck here, and well, I haven't went back to this type of video format, huh? For the past few months, I have been. Okay, I think it's been too fast. Hi guys! Okay. Hi guys! Ooh, that was a bit loud. Hi guys, logging in Chuck here, and welcome back to another MultiVersus tier list video. Yeah, it's kind of weird that I never actually made this type of video with MultiVersus since the beginning of the open beta. Like, I don't think I actually made this at all when the open beta ended. But, yeah. For the past few months, I have been making a lot of MultiVersus related videos, mainly simple gameplay videos of playing a certain character within the roster. But I never actually went back and talked about MultiVersus and its characters and everything else about the game since that initial ranking video like 2 years ago. So, at this very moment, at the time of this video's recording anyway, Season 3 is about to come to an end, so I decided, why not? Let's go back and talk about MultiVersus and the characters. Particularly to see, if I have any of my previous characters that were featured in the open beta ranking video have remained either in the same spot as it was from the game's relaunch, have some actually have improved, or has some actually gone worse since the relaunch. But as well, talk about the characters that did come out, including all the open beta characters from Rick, Morty, Gizmo, Stripe, Black Adam, and Marvin the Martian, and at this moment, all the other new characters added since of the relaunch, like Jason, Joker, Banana Guard, Agent Smith, Samurai Jack, Beetlejuice, the Powerpuff Girls, and Nubia. I plan to do this every time a season's about to come to an end, so whenever Season 4 comes to an end, and whoever the new characters are that's added during the season, they'll be added in this list too. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about MultiVersus, and well, go back to the back to the ranking video. Again, this is all at one recording, so apologies for any stuttering and mispronunciation of words and a lot of blah 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 blahs and stuff like that. But starting off, we got Shaggy. Shaggy, I believe, I ranked a little bit in the middle. So I'm just gonna place on the B tier for now, for just the video's sake. I think I placed him around I think it was either the B or the A tier, because the thing about Shaggy is he is your default character. He is essentially the Mario out of MultiVersus. The character that generally is meant to be played by anyone new or recurring. It's the best character to start off playing MultiVersus if you're new to it, but if you can master his abilities, he can be still a really good character for the long-time players. And the thing about Shaggy in general is that he's the character that everyone can play. So much so that I think some players have definitely abused some of his attacks a little bit too frequently. Mainly his side specials. There is still people probably out there in the game at this moment who simply used the side special with Shaggy when he does the kick, and that's probably how they're able to win a lot of the rounds. But the thing about that is that Shaggy is still a fun character to play. His moveset, well, yes, based off a meme that has been, been a little bit outdated nowadays, and it's another one of those memes where Warner Bros. Keeps referencing it so much that it's become annoying. Like, say, for example, the Simpsons Bush meme, for example, with Homer with a hedge. In fairness, not to the degree of that. It's not every single time Shaggy appears on screen they're doing the meme, but, despite that though, I still think Shaggy is still a fun character to still play as. His moveset is simple, but, that's kind of the point of the character. He's meant to be a simplistic character to play as, and he still does it well, and, Sorry for the cut there. Basically, again, Shaggy is one of the most simplistic characters. And again, I think some people definitely abuse some of his moves, but still, there's a reason why Shaggy is as well played as he is. He still has a lot of cool abilities that make him fun to play, even if it can't be simplistic. So, for now, this video, I'm going to put Shaggy on A tier, but I'll give it a straight away that this will be a lower end on the N tier. Like, he'll be the lower end of the A tier, which I'll give a reason why that is. But still, A tier, still a fun character to play as. I wouldn't say he's a main of mine, but he, out of, I guess, the Scooby-Doo cast, he's the main one I play the most. Next up is Batman. Batman's one of those characters that, honest to God, I feel like he is simply played by the competitive players only, and they know how to use his moveset, but what they do know with his moveset is usually the cheap moves, the ones that can be used and spammed a lot with his attacks. Mainly his dash, the uppercuts, both in terms of his up air and his up special, the back grappling hook, definitely used that a lot, and I think they use the bat bomb a lot too. In fact, it's always a thing where when it comes to Batman players, I always know that when I get knocked out, they always then immediately use the smoke bomb, when the whole point of that move is that you're meant to use it to hide Batman, and also to slow down the enemies who get caught within the smoke. Like, why do you keep doing it after you knock me out? But that's kind of the thing with Batman, where he's still a fun character to play. There's a reason why people keep playing Batman just beyond the fact that it is Batman. His moveset is brutal. It is like what you would expect from Batman. He hits hard, he hits fast, he does not slow down. And while some Batman players may struggle a bit because I feel like they're trying too hard with the character, a lot of them do know how to play the character, and in general, I still find Batman in general to be fun to play as. I've done some sick moves with him too. He can be good for like the top end of the stage for ring outs, obviously with his uppercuts, he definitely has that advantage. I also like to use his Batarang. That can do some good stuff too here and there. And his smoke bomb, his old bat bombs, they work too as like a little thing as well in the battle. Like, lower end of damage, just be an easy way to make it get a little bit higher. But if it's on the higher end of the damage, and you have the bat bomb, there's a high chance that maybe that might be enough to knock an opponent out. I don't know, I feel like in this case, Batman is just in with the state with Batman's in, with some players that they tend to play him so much, or to a degree that they become sweaty over playing Batman, that as a casual player, more or less, because I mainly do a lot of casual rounds, I still think Batman's a fun character and is perfectly fine in the B tier. But there's still some bits for Batman where I feel like it's mainly for more competitive players, mostly. That kind of makes it a little bit hard to fully enjoy playing as him compared to stuff like Shaggy. But still, B for Batman, obviously. I'd still say he's a fun character to play as. Next up is Jake the Dog, who I can't remember how I ranked him back in the open beta previously, but nowadays, for the longest time, Jake was kind of in the C tier for me. Jake's attacks definitely has the most range. Like, his stretchy powers definitely help, Jake to have a lot of range with his attacks. Like his neutral, his air attack and the up special with his stretchy powers, that definitely helps him to have a lot more range compared to other bruisers. But I don't know, there's something about Jake's moveset that never really clicked with me, or I feel like that it's not, in a way, like some players can play Jake and be and basically annoying. Basically, that's all I can really say. Whereas with me, Jake is just perfectly serviceable. Like he's a perfect B tier character, below Batman. Because at least Batman, I can play as him and have a bit more enjoyment. Whereas Jake, it varies. Again, not to the point of being the C tier like I previously did. With the game's Wii launch. He's definitely improved a little bit, but I don't know. There's still a bit with Jake's moveset that hasn't really clicked with me as much as others have. But he still has some potential with his stretchy powers. His horse side special definitely helps give a bit of an impact. The up special with the stretchy powers, they can potentially be good for like ring animations if you immediately then use his up attack with the spiked hands. But generally speaking, I don't know. Jake is one of those characters I do like, but I don't play him often enough. Like he's still a perfectly fine character to still get like stuff for him, but it's only unless a mission requires him that I'll decide to say, you know what, I'll play Jake for this occasion. So yeah, that's with Jake. Next up is Finn, who similarly to Jake is another character that a lot of other players can be annoying to deal with if they know how to use the character. But whereas for me, he's kind of in the serviceable class. So he's like also in the B tier too. The thing about Finn is that you kind of have to be annoying to actually play him well. A lot of his attacks hit fast, not really hard, but just hits really fast. And there are still some annoying moves with Finn that can potentially go for a combo game, like this up special with the backpack. I don't not like that move. I think a lot of people tend to use that as Finn's main method of combat, and it's very annoying to deal with. But Finn does have some other stuff too, like his coin gimmick, that can either add more impact to the up special with the backpack, or you can buy some additional power-ups within the round, like a speed boost, just a defensive boost, or you can buy a BMO, who then after charging him up a bit with Finn's high five move, Finn can then do it with BMO, who just does a straight line, but it can do some good damage if you well time BMO's high five. So again, it's kind of in the weird position with Finn, where he's very much in the middle of season B, around the tier B. Being still a fun character to play as, and I think he's more enjoyable than Jake, but I still say I prefer Batman over Finn any day, because again, Batman's at least somewhat easier to pick up and play, whereas Finn, you kind of need a little bit more time, especially with his just his hold attacks. Like, they can be annoying to deal with depending on the player as well. Next up is Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn, I know some people generally hate Harley Quinn and how she plays in MultiVersus. Like, she can be a very annoying character to deal with her moveset, and, well, I don't like playing as Harley Quinn. Yeah, she's an S tier character to me. The thing about Harley Quinn is that she uses a lot of different weapons with her attacks, and some Harley Quinn players I've seen tend to use the hammer, particularly the neutral attack, air attack, where Harley just has the mallet and just swings it. I've seen a lot of people just simply do that for her attacks because of how good the range can be and how much impact it can do when it hits to someone else. But there's still some other stuff for Harley that I still like too. The baseball bat, both the normal attacks and the up attack, and some of the up specials, like, she's a perfect character to do a lot of the more the top of the stage ring outs with, just from her up special alone with the baseball bat. But she has some other weapons too, like a little bat bomb that can explode either on its own or or if Harley sets it off using the same button, and it can like cause a fire effect. But there's still some other stuff with Harley too. The only thing about her I'd say I don't like as much is the side special where she leaps forward and then shoots a little like a small mallet fist thing on it. I don't think I haven't gotten as much use with that attack compared to other attacks with Harley Quinn. And some of them players again can be annoying to deal with, but I don't know. There's still something about Harley Quinn that I generally like playing as when it comes to MultiVersus. To be within the S tier rank. Next up is Wonder Woman, who I can't recall where I placed her back in the open beta either, but I'd probably say it wasn't positive. But for this video, B tier as well, but below Jake. The thing about Wonder Woman is again that some players definitely know how to play as the character. You ever seen the Lasso of Truth? All the armor themed attacks too. They definitely help give Wonder Woman a lot more annoying moves that she can pull out from just from those alone. Even then though, from my perspective, Wonder Woman has remained to be a character that's mostly meh, in my honest opinion. Because the thing about it is that a lot of her moveset feels standard. Maybe it's because I'm not that familiar with Wonder Woman as a character fully. I mean, there's still some cool moves with her, like the Lasso of Truth, that you can either use to, I think, like, just hurt an enemy normally, or you can actually have them, pull towards you. I know it can help with teammates, too, by giving them armor if you pull the Lasso of Truth on them. But she also has an ability where she just simply gives herself a shield of armor, or can do that with the same her teammate. But I don't know. When it comes to me and Wonder Woman, just a lot of her moveset just felt fairly standard, and there's something about it I can't exactly pinpoint, but a lot of it just does not work with me compared to the other characters, where at least even like with Jake, Finn, and Batman, I got a lot more to say about their moveset on how it feels to play the character compared to Wonder Woman. All I know is that some people definitely know how to play her and make her annoying. That much I do know. But I don't know. Like, it's still a case where I can still play with Wonder Woman. I wouldn't do it often, but I would play as her, and at least it's like a 50-50 chance if I get to win a match or not because of it. But so, again, she deserves to be in the lower end of the B tier, personally. Again, I still don't think she's a bad character. She is still good, and maybe for newer players who want to help figure out the tank character, she's the best one, I'll say that. That she might be up there for one of the best tank characters. Even though if I have personally a tank character that I like more than her, altogether. But, for what it's worth, I still think Wonder Woman can still be a fun character to play. And some of our moveset can be cool, like with the lasso, the whole use of the shields, and the armor ability. But that's also where I think some players can get a bit annoying with her as a result of that. I faced against some plenty of Wonder Womans who love to shield themselves and use the armor ability, and then just go all out with the sword. I don't know. Wonder Woman's one of those characters where I think she's annoying to face against, playing as her ranges. But still, B tier is kind of perfect for that, even if it's on the lower end. I still say, Wonder Woman is still an okay character, just not a fantastic character in my opinion. Next up is the Man of Steel himself, Superman. Superman himself is a complicated character because he kind of shares a lot of the same things with Wonder Woman to me, where he's another tank character, so he generally hits hard, and he's also, I think, like one of the slower characters as a result of this, faster than a speeding bullet in my ass. But again, with Superman, a lot of his attacks do feel like you're playing the Man of Steel. When he punches, it feels like a Superman punch. As well, he can use stuff like just simply flying up in the air, and if you catch someone, he'll simply just deck them in the face. Or you going up in the air and smashing into the ground, or using the laser eyes. Again, he's one of those, also one of those characters that his side attack is a multi-hit, and I notice a lot of Superman players just love to use that and then just go with the uppercut with his attacks. And again, like with Wonder Woman, he too can be an annoying character to deal with as a result. Where when I play as Superman, he's just okay. I'd say I play Superman a bit more than Jake. I can play Superman a little bit better than Jake and Wonder Woman, but Batman and Finn definitely have more to do with Superman. I am thankful though that at least with Superman, that when it came to his, I think it was his up air special, I believe, where back then Superman would simply grab whoever is nearby and then throw them, towards a certain direction. Back in the old beta, you could go like up in the air or down as well, making it easy to go for like 0 to kill percentage just simply by grabbing someone and then just throwing them onto the blast zone. But thankfully they did fix it where now Superman can only do that from the left or the right. That still means you're still a threat. Like if you are a higher percentage and you have Superman there and he just simply throws you into the blast zone, from your high percentage, so he's still an annoying character to deal with, but I don't know, maybe I just gotta play as Superman a bit more to, get his moveset a little bit better. But still, I think he's better than Jake and Wonder Woman. I can say I've won a few rounds with Superman and it feels good to win as him, but I'd still say Finn and Batman are definitely a lot better. Then, old Steven Universe. Steven. When it came to all the other characters, I don't know where I rank them as, but when it comes to old Steven, I remember back then that I list him as one of the worst characters in MultiVersus. Generally, he was one of my least favorite characters to play as back in the open beta. And what's frustrating here is that when the game did relaunch initially, I kind of thought at first that, I don't know, Steven was actually improved a bit. His attacks actually do a bit more, more impact. His shielding abilities did a lot more too in terms of both defense and offense. Because he's one of the few characters that changed classes. He changed from a support to tank because the support class was simply removed with the relaunch. And I don't know, his moveset definitely fits the tank a little bit better, but still having some of that support there too with his healing abilities and shielding powers. So I thought at first Steven was around a B level, like around B tier. Then I played him a few days ago, and I just remembered, oh yeah, this is why I really hate Steven. Yeah, no offense to Steven Universe fans, but Steven is total ass. I do not like playing as Steven Universe at all. Playing him feels like, in the scene of Homer the Great when Homer has the Stone of Triumph, chained to his neck, and he's barely able to move with that thing. That is Steven Universe in a nutshell. I generally hate playing as Steven. His attacks are slow. They are incredibly slow. They feel like they don't do much impact at all. His entire Gems bubble attack. You know, the whole thing where you can, like, have a trail with the bubble, with the crystal gem bubble thing. And then you gotta hit the enemy a few more times and then have them in a bubble. I'm sorry, that's useless. I don't get what is the appeal behind that move whatsoever. And the Watermelon Steven sounds like a cool idea on paper, where you can have this small, NPC character who then helps Steven alongside with the fight. But given his moveset, yeah, like basically got two Stevens. Too bad the Watermelon Steven is just as weak, even more so than Steven himself, and can easily get knocked off the wing. I don't know, man. There's a lot about Steven that should have worked. And back a few months ago, it felt like Steven was getting better. He felt like he got a lot better for me. But now? No, I'm sorry, like, total ass of a character. I just hate playing as Steven. And once I currently get my gameplay video up and running with his, and once I get his gameplay video uploaded, because at this very moment I'm recording footage for Steven in his gameplay video like every other character, basically I'm never playing Steven again unless it is 100% either in casual or in Rift mode, just so I can boost his XP to get all the currencies and Gleamium. That is the only reason I would ever play Steven again. So when it comes to the gameplay video with Steven, coming up in the next few days, enjoy it, because that's the only time you'll ever see me playing Steven Universe in MultiVersus, unless they make him better with future seasons. Next up is Wayne Dog. Wayne Dog, I recall being not as positive with this character back then, because obviously he's the brand new original character made exclusively for MultiVersus, so that's a harder sell to pull with Rain Dog compared to everyone else in MultiVersus, because they're all based on Warner Brothers IPs. And he definitely felt like the most support heavy character out of the entire roster. His moveset definitely was built more for 2v2s than any other mode back then in the open beta. And that was like when the game was super fast, the characters were smaller, and the stages were a lot bigger. So now, with the game's relaunch, this is kind of a weird one, because Wayne Dog has went from B to C multiple times during the previous seasons. He is generally a character that I definitely liked more now compared to the open beta. He definitely has a lot more attacks that do actually help him fight instead of simply helping the teammate out. But still, though, I wouldn't say Steven. Rain Dog, Steven Vic, yeah. Rain Dog. I still think Rain Dog's a fantastic character, but I'd still say, like, during his gameplay video, I was still able to do some cool moves with Rain Dog on his own for 1v1s. It definitely feels like some players have clicked with the character. They have done some insane moves with the character now. It definitely made him more, like I said, he's able to now fight on his own compared to previously where he had to rely on the other characters to really make his moveset work. Whereas now he can simply go and fight his little paws off and don't even need to worry about having a teammate. I still think he's not a great character. I think some of his moveset can be a little bit off at times. Some of his moves in particular. And I still think in general, he still has some issues from the open beta in terms of his attacks. But still, for Rain Dog, he definitely has improved on me, where I'm like, okay, if the game wants me to play as Rain Dog, or if I'm in the mood, I will actually play as the character and won't feel like this is a waste of a slot or think he's a bad character. Far from it. I still say Batman, Finn, and Superman, from the B tier alone, I still prefer Batman, Finn, and Superman a lot more. But I'd play Rain Dog a lot more than Jake and Wonder Woman. Next up is the Warner Bros. Mascot himself, Bugs Bunny. I remember back then he was one of my mains back in the old beta. And yep, just make this one simple. Not much has changed. I still love playing as Bugs Bunny. There have definitely been a lot of changes with his moveset over the past few months, particularly with the safe. I think back in season 1, I think. I think it was just in season 1, his bank fall could multi-hit. So even if it hits the opponent once, if he did an attack to send it off again, it could hit the opponent a second time and still cause as much impact as a result. And there was some I think some players were able to do some crazy some tricks with Bugs Bunny's safe attack to get some massive damage done to them. Whereas they have patched it where it only hits one player now, but it still can do some good impact if you well time the bank vault. That's the thing. Bugs still has a lot of moves that is well timed to really have the impact. The rockets are still as useful, either as a quick way to save Bugs Bunny or simply to blow someone away. Having the now missile, up in the air and then falling down after a couple seconds does have some fun, mess around. Like you think you're safe, and then suddenly here comes a giant missile coming from above. I still say there are two characters I personally would like a little bit more than Bugs himself, but again, I still think Bugs Bunny has a lot of moves that captures the character well, showing him that, he's the rascally rabbit. And he can still do some crazy sick moves if you well time it. That baseball attack, baseball bat, the sound of that still sounds good, and it can still do some massive damage if you well time it, if with a higher percent character, or if you just well timed it enough on the top of the stage. If you remember back in the previous open data video, I considered a little cat and mouse, to be my mains. And much like Bugs Bunny, not much has changed. I still think out of all the characters in MultiVersus, Tom and Jerry remain to be my mains. I still love playing these two, and I really actually missed playing as these two. Like I said, back then, you mainly play as Tom during out the fight, but you mainly have Jerry as your projectile. Not much has changed with Tom and Jerry, but that's kind of the good thing about these characters. They're still fun to play, they're still chaotic, but they're not too busted that they need a lot of nerfs. I think the only thing is I think Jerry or some of the rocket ability was changed a little bit. But I think the game's slower speed has definitely helped some items with Tom and Jerry hit a lot harder, like the rocket or the mousetrap. And I like how the mousetrap, even after you display the mousetrap and it goes off, you can still have Tom try the mousetrap again, but this time it just slings it up in the air, potentially getting some good, timed, counterattacks if you well time the mousetrap sending off itself. But even then, the mousetrap, when it is laid down, does have some potential. I've had some fights against Batmans who had the grappling hook all way to go, and I couldn't just shoot Jerry out. So I just simply place a mousetrap, Batman just starts flinging towards Tom and Jerry, and then whoosh, they get hit by the mousetrap. It just feels good. But that's the thing with Tom and Jerry. Their moveset still feels good to pull off, even if I've heard from some people, their gameplay is definitely the hard one to figure out because you're basically playing as two characters. But technically, you're only really playing as one. It's just that you need the other one with Jerry to really, take the most effort with Tom and most impact with Tom and Jerry's moveset. Like the tennis balls, they do need Jerry to really work, but Tom is still able to make them work if he well times some attacks with the tennis balls, or in the case with the rocket. I've seen some players who can still use the rocket without having Jerry, strapped onto it, and they can still make it work if they well timed it. And again, I still love playing these two characters, so Yeah, 2 years later, I'm still a Tom and Jerry main. Garnet's up next, and I can't recall where I placed her back in the open beta. I want to say not too highly, but a lot more than Steven. And in this case, she's definitely one of the more pleasant surprise characters because I really do like playing as Garnet. Uh, I think that because out of her moveset, her moveset hits faster than compared to Steven. She has one of the few multi-hit attacks too with her side special, but there's stuff like the little bomb she can throw out, which can do good too, like to stop an opponent, but then she can just use her hands to clap, and that can do a lot of damage if you well time the clap. But there's still some other comes too, like the Garnets themselves. You can now shoot them, and I think with the slower speed of MultiVersus now, it gives Garnet a lot more potential with that moveset to actually do a good hit on the character. I still think the music note is still kind of. I think it's meant to straighten, like give more strength to the characters. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there is still a lot to Garnet's moveset that I believe makes her a really great character to play as in MultiVersus. And again, one of the more pleasant surprise characters back then. Back now, where back then I think I wasn't as positive towards her when the faster speed. Next up is Arya, who I can't recall how I felt about her back then. I don't know if I was positive or just mixed about her in general. Nowadays though, well, I'm not. It's not too positive, but I still actually do like playing as Arya. I think the game's slower speed helps Arya give a lot more possibilities with her moveset. She's definitely a fast character. A lot of her moveset revolves around her hitting fast and not wasting a second to get the kill. But as well, she's a lightweight, meaning she can be fairly easily be knocked back just simply because she's not as heavy compared to the other characters. I think out of all the assassin characters, she definitely fits that description well with her, speediness. But now also with the game's slower speed, I've gotten more use out of the shape-shifting abilities that she does, where she can take one of the character's movesets and use it against them. Again, it all depends on the character. I think how the button layout on how to activate it, like, yeah, it may be simple as pressing the special button to activate it, but then you go, okay, do I activate like just a typical up special to get another character's up special, like say the Iron Giants or Finns, or do I go with a standard side special like with Banana Guard or Shaggy? You know what I mean? It's getting that exactly down is still a bit of a struggle, and again, being a lightweight, she can be potentially be easily knocked out. But back then, I don't think I was fond of Arya. Whereas now, I'm now a lot more. I'm a lot more positive with the character. I wouldn't say she's my main, or out of the assassin characters, she's my favorite. But I still say once in a while I do play as Arya, and I'm able to enjoy playing as her. Next up is Velma. Velma. Okay, I recall. I don't think I was that positive about her either. She was definitely like the most OP character back in the old beta, which I'm still not over how she out of all characters was so OP. But then when the relaunch happened, she kind of went down to being the worst character. A lot of her moveset didn't really hit as much as it did back then, but with all these patches and buffing her up a lot more, I'd say Felmer has improved with me. I feel like she was on the C tier, not being a great character to play as, but generally, uh, I feel like she was in the C tier back then, where she was still playable, but a lot of her moveset didn't really work with me. Whereas now, with all the, like I said, the low speed, how bigger the characters are, and just generally figuring out her moveset a little bit more, especially now with all the buffs, I'd say Velma is another pleasant surprise character. The Mystery Machine, which I used to think was like one of the weakest things ever, because a lot of players can simply destroy the Mystery Machine before they get captured, or can simply break out of it. Now the Mystery Machine can be a legit threat if it is summoned, because, well, yeah, you can still knock it away and potentially blast it into the blast zone, but it is a lot stronger, and when you do get caught by the Mystery Machine, it really does depend on how long it takes for it to reach the blast zone. Because otherwise, you could really get Velma could get a very easy way out just from the Mystery Machine alone. I still think out of all the attacks, either the up attack with the light bulb or the side special with her running ability makes Velma a lot more better to play as compared to back then. But she still has some cool abilities too. Thank God her, I think it was her neutral special or the side special. I think it was the neutral one where she uses the megaphone to blast out like a long distance attack. That has definitely been cut back a small bit, where it still does some impact if it does go through, but not to the degree of the open beta where it was very like half the stage was covered with that line. As well as the speech bubbles, they do help out, to either keep the enemy distracted or potentially get a very easy kill if it's like a higher percent character too. There's not much else I can think of. Like Velma again, one of the characters that generally was on the more meh side of things with me, have definitely improved since then to say, yeah, I like playing as Velma. I wouldn't say she's as annoying to deal with compared to the open beta anymore, so thankfully there is that for Velma. Next up is Taz. Taz was kind of always like the first major character in MultiVersus that was the most annoying to deal with because of his side special with the tornado. His up special can also be annoying too, but the cartoon air, the cartoon air bubble thing they do when multiple characters are fighting at once, because generally it's not even like the damage, it's the knockback of the attacks that can be annoying, especially even when you do use the attack. Like even when MultiVersus previously had the tactic clay, where if you constantly kept using a move over and over and over again, it will lessen the attack. Taz would still be an annoying character to face against even with that. So I think Taz is like Shaggy, where he can still be a fun character to play as, but some of his moveset can make him annoying to play with. But face against. I wouldn't say Taz is a main character with me. I'd say he's perfectly in the B tier. Don't know if I would rank him higher or lower than Finn, no, because I'd still say Taz has a lot more stronger attacks than Finn to make it like fun to play as the character, but I'd say he's better than Finn. I'd still say like some of Taz's abilities have some good, knockback. And his side specials, his side specials and up specials can be annoying to deal with, but if you well time it, you can potentially, block it off. I think mage characters definitely have the best chance against Taz because how far they control their projectiles and hit Taz compared to bruisers or even, other support characters or these characters like tanks. Even with Wonder Woman, her armor ability would not last long with Taz if it's a multi-hit. So again, I think Taz is perfectly in the middle as it is. Better than all the rest of them here, but I'd say Velma, Arya, and Batman are a bit better in comparison. Iron Giant. I recall not being fond of the Iron Giant back then in the open beta because, again, with the faster speed of the characters back then, I think it made Iron Giant more like a big punching bag more than anything else, despite how some of the attacks with the Iron Giant were cool. Especially considering you're controlling a big-ass robot compared to almost everyone else who's smaller than him. So it made it a little bit hard to actually enjoy playing as the Iron Giant. Well, nowadays, with the relaunch, don't you remember back in season 1, I believe, when he was removed temporarily in the game because he had some moves that were glitched and made it easy to get some easy wins out of? Yeah, so that definitely shows that people definitely like playing as the Iron Giant a lot more. And yeah, I'd say Iron Giant is also another character that has improved on me. Uh, a lot of the attacks, I think out of all the attacks with the Iron Giant, obviously the main one that people use is his down special, where he does the cannonball attack, which can do a good multi hit, and if it does land on the ground, it causes like a little explosion. But some of Iron Giant's normal attacks can do some good damage too, like just simply smashing the car into bits or just throwing some piece of junk all over the place can do as much damage. As well, his up special, while not being as strong as his other ones, he still has some good potential with just spinning the car around, especially if it's near the blast zone, potentially getting some easy wins. The whole protecting friend mode definitely helps the Iron Giant too, where I think some of these can be very overpowered if you well time it, like the missile, the ground crake ability, or the big and massive explosion one he does. Um, Again, I still think because of how big the Iron Giant is, he can potentially still be a fairly easy character to beat up as a result. But really enough, he is a lot more fun to play as, even as a giant robot compared to the Man of Steel and a fat kid who has a gem in his stomach. LeBron James. It still feels weird to say that we have a fighting game full of Warner Brothers characters that has real life basketball star LeBron James in, but that's the state that we're in with MultiVersus and the meme-ish era we have been through. But what's even weirder, I can't recall if I was this positive about the character or not, but he's a fun character to play as. Again, another character like Shaggy, where his moves can be annoying to deal with, especially when some players tend to spam it. His basketball's ability to projectiles alone can still be very annoying to deal with, especially if the player just throws it, and nothing else. But I still think LeBron has some abilities that still makes him fun to play as. I think he's the most bruiser character out of the roster, where he definitely, a lot of his attacks do hit fairly well. Even with the basketball, he can still do well on his hand, do well in his hands. And all you need is like one simple hit, to land to spawn the basketball back without spawning a new one. So that definitely gives a lot of potential with LeBron James's moveset. And I've done some funny moves with LeBron as a result with the basketball. So as much as it is annoying, I can see why people do like playing as LeBron, because his projectiles are good with the basketballs. It's almost like the equivalent with Tom and Jerry. People love shooting Jerry and the tennis balls around. So LeBron James is centered like that, just with basketballs, and doesn't need as much of a cooldown time as Jerry does. Morty. Now, all the characters from beyond this point, I never actually discussed before. Back then, I didn't like playing as Morty in the open beta because, again, the game was too fast to really make his attacks really work. Personally, I didn't really get much use out of Morty's attacks. Whereas now with this game's slower speed, it definitely gives Morty a lot more potential, and well, some players definitely know how to play him a lot more annoying-wise anyway. From my perspective anyway, Morty, he can be still a fun character to play. I got a lot more use out of his grenades than I did back then in the open beta, but as well, there's still like Morty's, the Morty Hammer ability. If you manage to get the perk, you get the perk to make it a multi-hit. He has the whole snake laser thing he does. Like, I don't know where that is from. I know that's probably from a later episode of Rick and Morty, but I haven't seen it. to know to get the reference, but it can do some good damage, if you well time it, especially when that character's off the ring. They're trying to desperately get back onto it, and then oops, spider, or a space snake. See, that's how sudden they are. They can just snakes can make me forget that I said that. Next up is Rick. Rick's another character I didn't really get to talk about, and I can't recall how I felt about him back at the open beta. I'd say I liked his some of his attacks, but again, I feel like the game's faster speed and not as more spaced out gameplay didn't really help Rick either. Whereas now, yeah, he's another certain character like Garnet, who's a surprise character to me. I generally do like playing as Rick. Some of his moveset can be pretty sick to play as. Obviously his main thing is his portals, which can with his portals. So, with Rick's gameplay, he definitely uses the portals. Like the portals are his main gameplay to either save himself or make it easy to do some sick combos with if you teleport a character towards Rick. But there's still a lot of other weapons within Rick's arsenal that makes him good. I've gotten more use out of the Meeseeks nowadays. It's just mainly making them run towards a character. But still, that's a lot more than I did with the open beta, where the Meeseeks were basically ignored for me. His side special, when you do use the portal with the ski, that is still a good move. His thing about the little teleportation thing where he can transform himself, either himself or his teammates larger, and then all the enemies into mini rain dogs. I don't get why that's there, but it still works. Like, it still helps out. It kind of goes into the Iron Giant thing, where maybe some players might take a advantage over the fact you're slightly bigger, but in comparison to the Iron Giant, some players can easily take advantage of being taller as well to get a lot more range with their attacks. Even if it doesn't go too far, it's still enough to do some impact. So again, Rick, pleasant surprise, honestly, in terms of being up on the S tier rank, personally. Next up is Stripe, another character I haven't talked about, and when it comes to Stripe, I'm trying to recall how I felt about him back in the open beta. It's kind of hard to tell. I can't recall how I felt about the character back then. Whereas nowadays, yeah, I'd still say I really do like playing as Stripe. The thing about him is that he definitely has a good mix between hitting personally up towards players and then having some attacks that keeps him safe but still hurt people. Like, whenever you do hit somebody, it gives Stripe a brief time to allow to then shoot whoever he hits, no matter how far he is from them. Like, when it comes to his normal attack with the bullets, he just simply shoots forward, which can still be a good move if someone's about to attack him. But just having that brief moment of, you lock onto one character, just those few seconds might be enough for Stripe. Potentially, in the higher damage range, to make it a lot easier for Stripe to ring you out just by simply blasting you from afar. But there's still some other cool moves with Stripe too. The skateboard makes it easy to potentially get some easy, knockouts if they're a higher percentage, because he just simply goes up the skateboard, kicks it up in the air, and that can be enough to blast someone up to the very top of the stage. There's also the dynamites, that's kind of helps one way. Like, it can potentially save Stripe if he's about to get knocked off from afar, and then might Kuri into another enemy to give them some damage too. Despite the fact that, yeah, it can also hurt Stripe in the process too, if, regardless of what you do, like, it'll cause a fire effect to happen to Stripe no matter what. But I think there is still some cool moves. I remember this being one of the more abused moves when it came to Stripe. A lot of players did some sick moves with Stripe's grenade, where they patched that out a lot later on. to not make it as busted. But still, I think Stripe can still be a fun character to play as. It just, I think his attacks can be a little bit slow, but out of all the assassin characters, but he still has a lot of moves that makes him a very entertaining character to play as. Next up is Black Adam. For the longest time before the recent thoughts about Steven came up, Black Adam, I can't recall how I felt about him back in the open beta, but nowadays he is kind of perfect in the C tier because, to be frankly honest, I still kind of don't get how to play as Black Adam. Now, I know his moveset, I know what it does, it's just getting it down, getting to how exactly to use his attacks to make some good, combos or just make a good finishers. Because I know people play Black Adam and they are annoying to face against as a result. Just by using his normal attack with just a lot of knockback, regardless of what percent damage you are, as well doing big kicks in the air, and using a lot of the lightning, which I'd say, out of all the moves, again, much like with Finn's backpack or Taz's tornado, I think the lightning attack, when he just summons lightning to strike him, no, even if it did have damage decay, I doubt it would have really fixed much, as some players would definitely abuse this attack to get some easy knockouts. Again, maybe I just gotta play Black Adam a little bit more to get how he plays, but generally, again, given this alone, I still say I prefer Black Adam over Steven, but definitely out of all the characters, I'd still say he's the weakest-ish out of the roster, personally. But still, I think, maybe there's something I'm missing with the character. I mean, a lot of people play him, so maybe there's something to Black Adam I'm missing. Next up is Gizmo, who, like with Steven, used to be one of my least favorite characters back in the open beta. I don't know, there was a lot about Gizmo that sounded cool on paper, but maybe because of how small he is and how fast the game is, a lot of the moveset for the character generally didn't work as a result. Whereas now, he definitely gets a massive improvement nowadays, and since the relaunch. He can still do some pretty sick moves. I've seen some players do some annoying tricks with Gizmo, particularly with his ears or with the car. Now, because the game's slower, it means his bow and arrow have a lot more chances to hit somebody. You can now well time it to actually hit somebody now. The piano has some potential too. I got a crazy, ring out from an enemy last second just because of this piano being that good. Didn't get it all the time, but I still remember how sick it was to pull this little piano off, and that was enough to knock out the opponents to get me the win. I'd still say there's still a bit to Gizmo that prevents him from really reaching up on the S tier. I think some of his up attacks do still kind of miss a bit, like his up special. Kind of hard to pull off, whereas just his normal up special with his ears do a lot more compared to the up special. But still, for what it's worth, I think Gizmo has definitely improved on me the most since of the open beta. And finally, the last character who was out for the open beta, and for the longest time was the last new character to the roster, Marvin the Martian, aka my most wanted character out of the entirety of the Warner Brothers cast. I know some people don't like playing as Marvin, but secondary main. Yeah, Marvin's been my secondary main, just behind Tom and Jerry, but I still love playing as Marvin. They have changed his class, where back then he was an assassin, where I always felt like he fitted the mage class a lot more than the assassin, so thankfully they did change that. And yet that fits him to a degree. He has a lot of his acne bubblegum abilities, having the one attack that can eat, that if hit somebody can pull them towards him. His neutral attack is great with like the punch and kick before just shooting out a little grenade attack, which even from afar can still do some good damage, even if you well time the little bomb attack to hit somebody. Having Marvin's UFO ship, which I with the perk to make it shoot out 3 little missiles instead of one big massive one, and with the flag ability that locks on projectiles towards people, I still say Marvin has a lot of potential with his moveset. I know some players don't like Marvin for whatever reason, but I don't know, man. It's I guess the mage, like, just look at my S tier already. I got like 4 mages and then 1 assassin and 1 bruiser. So I think it's safe to say I like the mage class a lot in terms of MultiVersus. And Marvin, I say definitely still fits perfectly as a mage character. And, he deserves to be my secondary main. Now we're into the characters who have been only been added with the since of the relaunch, starting off with the Joker. The Joker, he's like Shaggy. He's completely like Shaggy. I'd say he's slightly better than Shaggy. But the thing about the Joker is that he was a recommended character. And therefore, it means his abilities can be annoying to deal with because you can basically spam them. His up attack alone with the crowbar is still annoying to deal with even after 4 months later, with some Joker players really using it because of how fast it is, but also how hard it hits. But there's still a bit with Joker that still makes him a fun character too, like all his arsenal, his, weapons and stuff, using the bazooka to do some crazy knockback, doing the hand buzzer to counter enemies, the cards, which can vary from just simply hitting an enemy to make a massive explosion, the pogo stick, and it's just the pogo stick ability alone can be good. The pogo stick ability can also be good for ringing out enemies if you well time it to constantly bounce on the character as they're desperately trying to crawl up to the wall. And then comes all of his standard attacks with the crowbar. I think that crowbar is probably the most annoying move in entirely of MultiVersus. Minus 1 character, which I'll get into in a second, but I don't know. That's kind of why I put Joker in the lower A tier, because that's where, when it comes to the lower A tier characters, I think they're still fun to play as, but because of how many players tend to abuse a certain character's moveset over and over and over again, that kind of weakens them as a result. And with the Joker, there is definitely a lot of players who abused his moveset because of how easy it is to pull off, much like Shaggy's. The same can be said for our next character, Banana Guard. I still don't know what was it about Banana Guard in particular that made Warner Brothers and Player First Games to include him like this. Like, I know games tend to have their joke characters, and MultiVersus has kind of been more open on the fact that Banana Guard is the game's joke character. But, sometimes the joke characters can be a bit too strong or too annoying to deal with, and for Banana Guard, he's the key character where a lot of players tend to use his side special only, and that is it when it comes to his moveset. Just simply him running with spear, and even if you know it's coming and try your best to counter it or at least stop it, there's a high chance that spear will still go up your ass and it'll still hurt. As well, Banana Guard has some attacks that are still, even if they sound basic, are annoying to deal off because either A, they do a multi-hit attack, which can be easy to spam, or some attacks that can still hit hard, like his up attack, or the little helicopter up special, which can do a multi-hit. As well, Banana Guard has something with Shaggy where he can charge himself off temporarily, though in this case, it definitely just increases Banana Guard's strength more than anything else, rather than Shaggy's, who makes his one of the attacks he does pull off, hit a lot harder. So, like, this thing with Banana Guard where he's still a fun character to play as, but he's definitely, one of the easier to play characters. Like, I think out of all of them, he's the most brain dead character to play as a result. Like, you don't need that much effort to play as Banana Guard. I'm still not over the fact that we got this character in MultiVersus, but Jason Voorhees. I can't believe I'm saying this about ranking Jason in a Warner Brothers fighting game, but they do own him, I guess. I don't know what's the current copyright with Jason's like nowadays, but if they were able to get him in this game, I'd say something worked out with, the companies involved with this character. And I don't know, I feel like at least after season 3, Jason's kinda in the middle where I wouldn't say he's near close to getting into main territory, personally, to me. It really feels like he's getting close to it, but just not quite getting there. I think out of all of them, he's the most fun tank player, tank character to play as. But Jason can also be a bit of annoying with some of his moves too. But one thing I do like with Jason is that they do not hold back with the fact that he's a horror villain. Like, he still uses a lot of the axes, machetes, and the crushing the bed in half, like from Freddy vs. Jason, or the sleeping bag from Jason X. They don't hold back that this character's from a horror movie franchise, and the characters know he's murdered people, particularly teens. I think because, again, Jason's definitely slow. He's definitely, I wouldn't say he's on Iron Giant level of slow, but he can still be, a big thug. He takes a while to get to his destination, but he definitely makes up with that by being incredibly strong, especially with this neutral special, which charges his attacks even more, to even have even more impact, making it easier to get a lot more kills as a result if you well time the attacks. The only one I think I have a bit of issue with is the teleportation one. Now, I know it kind of helps. That move... Now, that move definitely helps Jason with two ways. Either A, as like a defensive ability where Jason can quickly teleport away from the opponents to save himself, or use it to cause some knockback towards the other characters with a well-timed teleportation move. The sleeping bag one definitely is like the hardest one to pull off, because as cool as it is, this just, half the characters in the sleeping bag and after Jason throw it, you need to be precise when you're drawing the sleeping bag, which for a lot of players, it's a bit harder to pull off. But then comes his neutral attack, where he just flings the axe down onto the ground. I think that's Jason's best move because it has the most knockback and is the most satisfying move to pull off with the higher percentage, players. So again, there's some bits with Jason that do prevent him from going from S tier, but that still doesn't take away how good, Jason is. Next up is Agent Smith. Agent Smith, to me, again, I feel like with the last 5 characters in the A tier, all kind of sum up they're all having the same issue when it comes to MultiVersus, or, with these characters, is that they're generally fine to play as. They definitely have a lot of movesets that can be played fairly well. Agent Smith, he just wields a gun for all of his special attacks, and it can't be well good to time the exact shots, either by standing still or lunging forward with the side special. As well, you can use his cloning ability to have another Agent Smith just run by on the stage, either grabbing the opponent to throw towards Agent Smith, or just to keep them in place and allowing the main Agent Smith just to do an uppercut to potentially get a good ring out, because Agent Smith's one of those characters where his uppercuts tend to hit harder than a lot of other moves within Agent Smith's arsenal. But as a result, some Agent Smiths definitely play a bit on the competitive side of things. They definitely use the side attack, which is another multi-hit and then a grab and then punch ability. So I've seen a lot of Agent Smiths that can be a bit sweaty, basically. But I still like playing as Agent Smith. I think some of his moves are still cool to pull off if you don't spam it, basically. But yeah, there's still a lot of moves with Agent Smith I still enjoy with the character. With the cloning ability, the use of the gun itself. I kind of figured that'd be more of a mage or even an assassin. I think he fits the assassin class a little bit more than Bruiser, personally, but it's MultiVersus. Who knows? Maybe that can be changed down the line. Next up is Samurai Jack. We can have another member in the group because he's the last of the characters I'd say that still genuinely plays fine. I still like playing as Samurai Jack, but players spam his moves to no end. I don't know, I feel like I'd say he's not to the degree of Banana Guard. I'd say I'll switch Shaggy up because at Banana Guard, I've seen a lot of players just simply use his side special and nothing else. Whereas Samurai Jack, a lot of players do generally use his other moves. They just tend to be the more spammy moves too, like either just simply kicking the enemies up in the air, like just his normal up or up specials. With him flinging up with the sword. Like, the spammy moves with Samurai Jack, like, it's the side special. He just simply swipes forward. Like, let alone, like, the length. The distance he goes towards the swipe. But then when you get his meter full, he can then use that to do a multi-hit if it does land against another player. Other moves like his up attack and up special, where he either like just swings the sword up or just does a mighty kick. And of course, his side special alone, where he just swipes the sword all over the place. Like, man, if this was Aku, I would have been in pieces because Jesus Christ, a lot of players just love to use these attacks with Samurai Jack. That, honest to God, I think out of every character in MultiVersus, I hate the Samurai Jack players the most because of how common they use his spammy moves with the side specials and all that stuff. And that's the thing, I still like playing as Samurai Jack. I still think he's a fun character. It's cool to have Samurai Jack in the game. But I think, still personally, the players are the more annoying aspects of Samurai Jack that really prevents him from going any further on the list. Whereas everyone else from the A tier, even with like Agent Smith and the Joker, the characters I see a lot of people generally playing and using the spammy moves, they do change it up once in a while to make it a little bit interesting. Whereas Samurai Jack is on the Banana Guard and Shaggy thing, where they just tend to use it so much that it feels like they don't know how to play this character beyond the easy kill move. So again, I still like playing as Samurai Jack, but I don't know. I feel like if there wasn't as many spammy players as there is, I wouldn't be as this low with Samurai Jack. Next up is Beetlejuice. Funny enough, back when he did come out back in Season 2, I thought he was not fun to play as back then. There was a lot about Beetlejuice I didn't like playing about the character. That is until I kept playing as him. And the more I began to play, the more I began to enjoy, to the point that yes, he's our only character that isn't from the open beta that I'd say is an S tier character. I love playing as Beetlejuice. I think he has a mix of attacks that do some good finishing moves, like him just simply slamming the mallet hands to do a good knockback attack. Uh, his up attack, like again, his up attack his up attack his up attack, much like with Agent Smith, can just be enough to cause a ring out, which some players can find annoying, but I love that about Beetlejuice. And there's still other abilities too, like his neutral specials and side specials where he lunges towards people. The whole little bomb thing is the only move I don't really get as much use out of, but when I do use it, most of the time it does land. It just doesn't, I say it's probably Beetlejuice's weakest move, but still, everything else about the character still generally works. His down attack with his tap dancing shoes, that's been sometimes my favorite move to pull off when an enemy when the enemy's on the bottom end of the stage and trying to come back up, or sometimes even on the stage itself, where if I get a sweaty player, sometimes using Beetlejuice's tap dancing might be enough to hold them down for a few more seconds and then combo them, counter it back. So I don't know, Beetlejuice in terms of the newer characters added, yeah, he's the only one I'd say is an S tier character, and one of the more pleasant surprises, because considering how previously I was not as fond of him when he did come out, but thankfully he has improved on me since. Next up is the Powerpuff Girls. The Powerpuff Girls. Oh, it's kind of weird, the Powerpuff Girls. Because the thing about them is I generally do like playing as the girls that they're A tier characters. I generally do like playing as the Powerpuff Girls. Their cool dynamic of switching between the three girls, which all have their differences, like Blossom being the average range character, Bubbles being the lightweight, and Buttercup being the heavy character, fits the three girls perfectly. But as well, there's some cool differences between the moves, depending on who's the leader. As well, the girls' own powers, like Blossom's ice breath, Bubbles' supersonic scream, and then Buttercup's laser beams. They can do some cool stuff too if you well time it. As well, all their normal attacks alone can be annoying to deal with for some players. Like their dash alone, their dash attack alone, with the three girls spinning, or the up attack where they just do this triple punch attack between the three girls together. That's kind of why the Powerpuff Girls, for some players, it'll definitely be annoying to face against them. But for me, I don't know, they're still new-ish, technically newish, they've been out since, let's say almost 2 months ago at this point. I don't know, I still like playing as the Powerpuff Girls, and I think they still have a lot of potential with their moveset, too, and I have a lot of enjoyment with. And finally, we're into our last character, at the very moment of Season 3 and the MultiVersus in general, Nebula. Now, I don't know anything about Nebula at all. I don't follow DC at all. So, beyond Batman. So, I don't know who she is. But I was still willing to give her a shot anyway. And she's kind of better than Wonder Woman. But I'd still say on the lower end of the B tier. I think, again, she feels more like a tank. I think she kind of feels I think she's an assassin character, I believe, where I personally think she is a tank. The only thing about Nebula is that she kind of takes some of the moveset from Wonder Woman, but changes it up a bit, where Wonder Woman does the lasso to pull people, further away or towards them, but in a light way. Nebula, on the other hand, just draws this massive spear that nearly takes half of the map, and then just yeets them towards her and kicks them away. I don't know, I think when I was playing as her, she does have some cool combos, but she is a tank. She definitely feels like a tank, where she definitely needs to have the precise moment to attack. Otherwise, she tends to misses a lot of the time. Now, she doesn't have as many defensive powers compared to Wonder Woman. She has no buffing, she has no shielding or armor stuff. The most she has is like a big laser thing that she does that can basically knock back players a bit. But that's really about it. Again, Nebula is our newest character at the moment until next week at the time this video is recording, so I don't know. I feel like Nebula still has some potential to figure out, what parts of her moveset are annoying and which ones need improving, but for now, I don't know. I think Nebula is kind of on the meh side of things. I think she's still playable. She can be still enjoyable to play as, but I still say everyone else beyond Wonder Woman, Black Adam, and especially Steven are better compared to her. So yeah, that's my ranking for like season 3 at the moment. Sorry if this recording was very me rambling. It's been a while since I talked about MultiVersus like this, and I'm not a fighter expert, so I can't exactly speak on the whole fighting game terms compared to other other people who talk about fighting games. But again, not bad for the S tier. Like, that's 7 characters. Like, and Tom and Jerry remain to be the S tier characters for me. They're my mains. I have still played them. They're at level 19 out of all the characters. I have all their skins and stuff. So Tom and Jerry remains to be the mains of MultiVersus to me. Whereas Marvin's a secondary main. I really do like playing as Marvin. A lot more than probably others do, but, some pleasant surprises are made. And for Marvin, for me, I play Marvin and he's a secondary main. Again, because I never talked about all the newer characters, like with the other open beta characters, like with Rick, Marvin, Morty, Stripe, Gizmo, and the rest. I never got the chance to really say how I felt about them back in the open beta. But still, though, for the roster, like, again, here, I still think there was a good, I'm trying to lower this thing down. It's not going anywhere. It's not lowering down whatsoever. Come on. There we go. There were technical difficulties. Again, with all the characters so far, Steven's the only one I think I generally hate playing. Black Adam is kinda in the meh territory, where I think I still need to figure him out even after 2 years, I guess. It's a lot of his moveset I still need to figure out. With all the B tier characters, I'd say, for Batman, Arya, Velma, and Iron Giant, those 4 could be like at the lower end of B tier, the A tier, if they could work. It ranges with them, whereas Taz to Nebula, they're perfectly in the B tier, personally. Again, I say Wonder Woman maybe goes down to being on the C tier at times, but for now she's on the B tier, like the lower end of it. As for everyone else on the A tier, again, the Joker to Banana Guard are the characters I say are the characters who are good to play as, but the players you face against tend to abuse certain moves over and over again that truly prevent them from really being good characters, personally. Because everyone knows how to play these characters just by doing their more heavy, spammy moves. Whereas from LeBron to Jason, their characters, like, some players definitely know how to play these characters a bit on the sweaty side. Particularly Morty. I think Morty, out of all characters, might be the sweatiest one, technically here, with some players. Jason and the Powerpuff Girls can kind of count on this too, which is it's another thought I'd say, like, put Jason and the Powerpuff Girls together. So yeah, that's about it. Again, I apologize if this video is very me rambling along. Again, it's been a while since I did this, and the language disorder can be a bitch at times, so I really do apologize for that. So, I don't know, we'll be back here again around Season 4 in about another 2 months, probably December, January, I'm not 100% sure. But either way, when Season 4 is about to come to an end, I'll make another ranking video. So we'll see if any of these characters either remain in their spots or some change over time. Like, I'm hoping that Steven can get better for me. Like, I'm generally want to play as Steven. play him a bit more, but for now he's the worst character in the game at the moment. But I'm hoping that with Season 4 onwards, they maybe do some stuff that might improve him to me, personally. I don't know. But yeah, that's really about it I can think of. Thank you guys for watching the video. I do have another MultiVersus team video in the works that isn't another gameplay video. I don't know how it will pull off in comparison because I need to actually speak about it and I gotta figure out how to make it work. But for now though, this is my ranking for MultiVersus for Season 3 at the moment. So I'll see you guys until my next video. See you guys later.